Alright guys, here's what we got brewing. My front brake is a piece of shit. Works sometimes and it doesn't work other times. So what I did was buy a master cylinder rebuild kit. You know, I've tried bleeding this thing probably about 15 times and I swear I get all the air out. Then it seems like new air comes in at some point. So what we're going to do is take the master cylinder off and put the rebuild kit on and see what that does for us. Let's rotate this down so it's out of the way of the throttle cables. We've got a, it looks like an 8mm. So take your 8mm wrench or socket, loosen up your clamp on the handlebar. Just kind of rotate that down. Okay? Take something and cover this area here just in case we lose any brake fluid. It's not getting on the plastics. So I got a turkey baster. Just crack these bolts loose. And your master cylinder cover may have regular Phillips head screws. Mine's got these hex Allen bolts. So then you take that off, there's going to be a seal underneath. Set that aside. We want to take our plunger, turkey baster, and get that brake fluid out of there. Just so we're not making a huge mess everywhere. Then you can take a rag, kind of mop up the rest of it in there. Just get as much as you can out. Okay. Next, you're going to need a 14mm wrench and crack the brake line off of there. And this bolt right here is what we're after. And you're going to get a little fluid out. That's why we put a rag down. Okay. There's two little copper washers in there. Now your rebuild kit should come with new ones of those. And then you got your bolt there with the hole. Now you can take your clamp the rest of the way off. Set that aside. You got your two brake switch wires there. Just pay attention to what order they go on. So my bike here, you can see that wire with the red stripe goes on the front terminal, and those should just kind of pull off of there. Might be a little tight. Okay. And there's our master cylinder. Next thing you want to do is take the brake lever off. That's accomplished by using a 10mm. There's a nut and a bolt. The bolt has like a bushing on it that the brake lever pivots on. So just loosen those up. So we'll set those aside here. Lever should just pop out of there. And we're left with our master cylinder. To get this apart, we got to take this rubber boot off. Now your rebuild kit should have a new rubber boot in there. There it comes out. Let's get our new kit ready to go. So open it up, you should have a bunch of parts. What we want to do, a little sticker there. It's everything we need to rebuild it. So what we want to do is get these seals soaking in a little bit of brake fluid. Got some DOT4. Most bikes take a DOT4 or DOT5. Make sure you check what kind of brake fluid you need. This is DR-Z. Needs DOT4 fluid. So we'll put a little bit in there. Open these guys up. Get those soaking in there. And now we can proceed with taking apart the master cylinder. You take your snap ring pliers. You gotta get that snap ring out. So what you do, try to rotate it somewhere where you have easy access. Should just spin in there. Okay, we'll try. No. Then push down the cylinder a little bit. Get your snap ring pliers. It's kind of a pain to get them in there. Okay. There's the snap ring. Again, your kit should have a new snap ring. Yep, there's a new one. Set that one aside. Now you can pull out the piston assembly. And have a look at it. Don't see anything too terribly wrong with that. So we're gonna save the piston. Again, the kit comes with a new spring. Comes with these two, there's those two washers we were soaking. So we need to get those off. Just pull those off. They're just rubber. Okay, now what you want to do is clean this whole thing with a little brake clean. Okay, now we're ready to reassemble with our new parts. So what we want to do is soak this in a little bit of brake fluid. Pour a little in this cap here. Just kind of lubricate it to make those seals slide over. Get your seals. Now these two seals are different and they go on in a very specific way. We'll have a look at that. There's our two seals. You can see one's got a smaller hole, one's got a bigger hole. If you look in your service manual, there's the piston. There's that smaller seal, and it goes right there. And the smaller, you can also see it's kind of cone shaped. So this has got to go on there just like that. Then the bigger seal, if you look at the manual, goes right there, just like that. We'll put this one on. Get it over that lip. Okay, so that one's on. Get a little more fluid on there. And the big seal goes on there like that. So we'll go from the other end. And you're going to kind of roll it down there. And that's facing the wrong way. You got to turn it inside out. So that goes on there like that. Now these two seals, they're extremely important. If you don't have them on there the correct way, your brakes are not going to work. So compare it to the picture, and we're good there. So next step, let's clean this a little bit. Some fresh brake fluid on there. We'll blow this out with a little bit of air. Gonna get our spring. You look at the manual again, the spring goes right on there like that. And this whole assembly goes back in. We also need our new snap ring. Get that prepared. Slide that in there. Make sure your snap ring is seated down in there. Yeah, it's not quite sealed down there. Just kind of go around it. Make sure it's down in its groove. Blow it out again a little bit. Okay, now we're going to put this boot on. We're going to give it a little brake fluid. Could use silicone grease if you have any. I don't have any available. So this is kind of tricky here. You don't want to tear it, so you got to be careful. It goes down in there. And the piston itself has a little groove for this to sit in. Sure that's seated down on there. Everything looks good here. So the rebuild is done. Now we just need to put it back on the bike. Okay, to put it back on the bike, pretty straightforward. Just put these on. Get those screws started. Now this clamp has a up and down, and it should be labeled. You can see here, up with an arrow. My brake lever's at a slightly different angle, so I like to bleed them in this position, then put the cap on and seal it back up. So And do that. Now we'll get our seal washers. Make sure this bolt's nice and clean. Give it a little brake fluid, just to be sure. Put a new seal washer on that side. Put it through the banjo fitting. Put the new seal washer on the other side. And get it started on the master cylinder. Take our 14 millimeter, tighten that up. We hook up our brake switch wires. If you remember, the one with the red stripe went to the back on this particular bike. Plug it back in. Okay. Alright guys, that concludes the rebuild section. Check out my next video on how to bleed these brakes. Get them working how they should be. Thanks for watching, and if you like, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.